Hey guys, I'm having technical difficulty, so I'm gonna just hang on here to see if anyone can actually hear me, because this crap is not has been giving me problems all day today. Oh goodness. Can you hear me? Whoever just jumped on, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Yay! Okay. Okay. I've been having such technical issues today. I don't know what the hell is going on. Anyway, I'm glad you can hear me. Okay, cool. Because this is an important message, I swear. All right, so today what I want to talk to you about is why you're working yourself into exhaustion. This is like the third try. Okay, now we're going to do this for real this time. All right, so why are you working yourself into exhaustion? Well, couple culprits, right? Number one, you're not charging enough, right? Number two, you don't have the proper support in your business. So maybe you don't have the right, virtual assistant, or you don't have the right tech person, meaning that they don't complete assignments when they say they're going to complete assignments, and you put up with it and you feel like you're holding them accountable instead of them actually holding you accountable. You are likely tolerating clients who feel like they're heavy lifting or they're draining to you, because they're underperformers. You tell them exactly what to do. They don't do what they're supposed to do, or they dip in between your calls. So on your calls, it feels like you're aligned. It feels like they're listening to you. It feels like they're understanding what you're explaining. And then between your calls, they dip, and then they get back on the call, and it's like you got to start all over again with them, to get them, motivated, focused, and all that kind of stuff. And all of these experiences that you're putting up with are creating energy leaks, right? And so of course you're going to feel drained. Of course you're going to feel exhausted, right? And it can feel like this never-ending cycle of frustration because you don't know how to get out of it. And I want you to understand there's a very simple way to get out of it, and that is to allow yourself to stand fully in your power. That is to allow yourself to call people out on what is not acceptable. It's allowing yourself to honor your standards, right? Because the reason that you're feeling the way that you're feeling is because your desires, your standards are not being met. And the more you put up with your standards not being met, the worse you feel about yourself, the worse you feel about the experiences that you're having. And then obviously you can't call in the kind of cash that you want to call in, at least not consistently, right? So it's important that you're aware of this. Now, why are you not doing this? Why are you not calling people out, your assistants, your clients, anyone else in your world, whether they be friends, family members, whoever the case may be, that it feels like your energy is kind of being leaked in those areas, because all of those areas are distractions for you, right? They're your way of avoiding or averting focus from what it is that you actually say that you want, right? So why are you doing this? Well, you're doing this because, let's be honest, you're afraid to be perceived as a bitch, right? Because so many of us who have high standards, and the reason that you have high standards is because you're a visionary. It's because you're someone who's here to fulfill a big mission. It's because you're a leader, right? The reason you have those standards, is because you're supposed to have those standards in order to affect the change that you're here to affect. However, at the same time, you often feel very guilty when you honor those standards, because when you are direct, when you are clear, when you are specific about what it is that you desire, what it is that you need, the perception has been that you are a bitch. You're too direct, you're too focused, you don't care about anybody else's feelings, you're on your high horse, you expect too much, all those kind of things you may have heard and internalized, right? So as if you were experiencing that kind of pushback as a child, as a young adult, when you were very impressionable, you internalized those things and you made yourself now wrong for having those standards, right? And at the same time, having those standards is what's actually going to allow you to break through in your business. If you feel like you're stuck at six figures, if you're stuck at multiple six figures and you want to get beyond that, you have to honor your high standards. It's the only way you're going to get to the next level. But if you feel guilty, if you feel ashamed of your standards, because the people who are surrounding you or who maybe were surrounding you, reacted in a negative way, they perceived you to be a bitch or used any other negative connotation, to associate to you because you were standing in your power, of course you're going to shrink back from that. Of course you're going to be afraid of that, right? Now, you're an adult. right? So at this point, you have to now realize that you get to choose, that you get to honor and accept yourself for all of who you are, and, hold yourself to those high standards and surround yourself with people who will also help you stay accountable to your high standards, because you need to be held accountable to those higher standards if you actually want to get to your next level. Because if you're going to get to your next level, you cannot be weighed down by everyone else's opinions of you. You cannot be weighed down by, worrying about whether or not people are going to like you or dislike you or whatever the case may be. If you want to be a very powerful coach, a very powerful mentor, which I'm sure you are already, but if you want to be powerful to the next level where you command easily 10K, 30K, 50K, 100K fees, then guess what? You are going to be you're going to have to operate from your full power, right? You cannot keep doing this muted nonsense. You can't keep watering down your message. You can't keep holding back in your sales conversations. You can't keep holding back in your coaching sessions. You cannot continue to do that if you actually want to be the coach or mentor you were born to be, right? And so it's important that you get this. It's important that, number one, you understand why you've been shrinking back from being who you are, why you've been shrinking back from really showing up in your power, so that you can make the choice to do something different, right? Because if we're not aware of why we do what we do, we continue to live out that pattern because the awareness isn't there. So I'm giving you that awareness now. And one of the things that you can do for yourself is go back and look at the times in your life when you felt most empowered, when you felt most confident, right? And how did you feel about yourselves in the moment? Didn't you feel like the world was your oyster? Didn't you feel so empowered that you could say that you could do whatever it is that you wanted and you weren't worried about the consequences? That's the place that you want to get yourself back to, right? That's the place where you're going to experience the effortless success that you're looking for. Instead of this hard work, instead of this hustle, instead of this struggle, essentially where you're creating your own suffering because you're trying to basically punish yourself because you don't want to make it look too easy, because if it looks too easy, then people are going to question, why are you making so much money, right? You want to stop that, right? You have to make a choice as to whether or not you're going to allow yourself to be dictated to by other people who really want it to be easier for themselves also, but they're trapped with their own belief, their own thought patterns that are keeping them stuck, spinning their wheels and struggling and hustling and all this kind of stuff, right? You have to decide whether or not you're going to give yourself permission to fly, whether or not you're going to give yourself permission to soar, whether or not you're going to give yourself permission to be perceived as the bitch, if that's how people choose to perceive you, right? Because the inner bitch in you, the part of you who knows what the fuck she wants, gets what she wants, right? And you get to choose if you're gonna allow that part of yourself to come out, or if you're going to continue to suppress her. Right? And I guarantee you, the reason that you're feeling the frustration that you're feeling right now, the reason why you may look at other people in the industry and wondering why they're getting results that you're not getting, and why you're investing money and not seeing, the return on your investment and things like that, is because of this thing. It's because of the fact that you are not allowing yourself to be a bitch. Right? You're afraid that if people perceive you as a bitch, you're going to be perceived as difficult. People are not going to want to be around you. You're going to feel isolated. You're going to feel like an outcast. You're going to feel like a black sheep, because those are the feelings that you felt in your family or in your social circle when you allowed yourself to really shine, when you allowed yourself to ask for what you wanted, when you allowed yourself to receive at a higher level, right? So the answer lies within your hands. It's just a matter of you being aware of why you are shrinking back, why you're not allowing yourself to go for what you really want, and why you've been tolerating what you've been tolerating for so long. And I want you to recognize that the longer you tolerate things that are not up to your standards, the less you actually respect yourself. Let's just be clear here, right? And if you're not really respecting yourself because you're tolerating a lot of shit, do you think it's going to be easy for you to call in the sales that you want to call in the higher caliber clients that you want to call in? Or do you think that you will punish yourself by calling in clients who feel like they're heavy lifting, by calling in folks who say yes to the contract and then they disappear, right, before they pay the deposit, or people, who just don't really value you or what you do? I mean, you have to be representative of in terms of how you treat yourself, of how you want other people to treat you. So if you want other people to treat you better, who do you need to treat better? You, right? It all starts there. And it starts with you refusing to continue to suppress yourself, to suppress your creativity, to suppress your desires, to suppress your needs for the sake of other people. If you, I like to call myself a recovering people pleaser, because I assumed that role for a very long time because I was so fucking afraid that people would perceive me as a bitch, because it hurt, right? It hurt me when people would call me a bitch. It doesn't hurt me anymore because I actually love that part of me. And I know that the people who perceive me as a bitch because, you know, I don't behave or respond or react in the way they desire me to, I also know that they secretly respect the fact that I don't, right? Oftentimes we think when people are calling us names or whatever they're doing, right? Haters or whoever, right? We often think that they're doing that because they dislike us. No, they're actually doing that because when we shine brightly, we actually reflect back to them the fact that they are not allowing themselves to shine brightly, right? So once I recognized that, it was very easy for me to have compassion for those other folks versus allowing them to vilify me. I mean, they may vilify me in their own mind, but I also know what the real truth is. The real truth is oftentimes they actually respect the fact that you know what you want, that you speak your truth, that you honor yourself and respect yourself and trust yourself, right? And they're reacting, not responding, they are reacting because they can see in comparison to you that they are not doing the same, right? And why is all of this important? This is not just an exercise in, you know, how do I say? This is not just an exercise in giving yourself permission to be an asshole, right? Because being a bitch or being that stronger version of you doesn't mean that you have to be combative, right? It doesn't mean that you have to compete with other people. It doesn't mean any of that. It just simply means that you're comfortable in your own skin. And if people don't like it, good on them, right? They have to deal with that, but you don't internalize their reaction to you as something being wrong with you. Because for a very long time, I know many of you have experienced this, as have I, you've internalized, you know, the fact that people perceive you as a bitch to mean that there's something wrong with you, to mean that you should be ashamed, to mean that you should cause yourself suffering because you're a bad person, right? When you're not. That's what I'm saying to you right here, all right? So who has any questions, comments, feedback? Okay. Hey, Len, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it Lenja? So Lenja says, amen. Yes, this is what I said to my project manager yesterday. I don't want to be a bitch, but I do not want to tolerate certain things. Yes, this is showing less respect for myself. Exactly. Right? Hey, Stephanie, how are you? Awesome. So you're currently dealing with family member who doesn't get this online thing and talks about how fleeting the money is. Well, it doesn't have to be fleeting, right? And if you're talking to someone who doesn't get the online thing, they don't understand how we make money. So talk to people who do understand how we make money. All right? It doesn't hurt me, used to. Of course. Recovering people pleaser. Awesome. Awesome. You're welcome, Janelle. All right. So yeah, this is all about being comfortable in your own skin. When you are comfortable in your own skin, you can serve at a much higher level, right? You communicate in your marketing in a way that calls in your ideal clients and it repels the wrong ones. So the people who are the heavy lifters, the people who show up and they dip between sessions and, you know, they're not really focused on getting their goal and they complain and they whine and they cry and all of that stuff that you don't like, you don't want them on your discovery sessions. You don't want them in your programs, right? So when you show up and allow yourself to be fully expressive, and be perceived as a bitch, if that's how people want to perceive you, then guess what? You no longer attract those people who are not the right fit. You will, in fact, attract the people who resonate with you 110%, the kind of people who are going to be a dream to work with, right? Now, I can tell you that I know from personal experience, there's a stark contrast between when I was showing up very muted, when I was showing up in this place of not wanting to offend, I didn't want to trigger people, I was tiptoeing around my words, I was using filters and all that kind of stuff, I would attract clients and sign them, unfortunately, who were not the fit for me. And I caused my own suffering by doing that. And when I decided I was no longer going to do that, guess what? I have clients that I work with who literally light me up. I mean, there's so much, it almost feels like I'm cheating because, I mean, these people are so much fun. It doesn't feel like work, right? And then I get paid really nicely on top of that. So it's like a dream. So if you want that experience, it's very important that you allow yourself to show up in this way, right? What else do I want to say about this? Also in your sales conversations, right? When people show up on your sales conversation, they're stuck in fear. They are, struggling with their stuff. And in order for you to be able to move them through their fear, you got to step in the pain with them, right? And it's going to be difficult for you to step in the pain with them and call them out on the things that they need to be called out on if you're worried about being perceived as a bitch, right? If you're afraid that if you say what you need to say, if you speak the truth, that they're not going to like you, then guess what? You're not going to be able to serve them at the highest level. And so you're not going to be able to close them, right? Which is a good thing, because if you're not able to serve, meaning you're afraid of the truth, right, of being able to speak the truth to people because you're afraid of their reaction, then you're not going to be able to serve them as their coach or mentor either, not in a powerful way, right? So if you want to, be able to help your people get better results, starting from the sales conversation, you have to allow yourself to be who you are, right? And you cannot be encumbered by thoughts or feelings that people are going to perceive you to be a bitch. That's, if they do, that's on them, not on you, right? Your role here as a visionary leader, as a transformational expert, is to be a change agent, right? That means you have to be willing to confront people and what the lies that they're telling themselves, the rationalizations, the logic that they're using to keep themselves stuck in their patterns, right? You're not going to be able to do that effectively if you're worried about being perceived as a bitch. So own the fact that some people may perceive you as a bitch and revel in that. And I don't mean revel in it in this way of being an asshole. I just mean revel in it in the fact that, listen, that's a part of who I am. We all have that part of us. Some of us choose to deny it and suppress it and resist it. And that causes a lot of suffering, right? So you can make money, but you might not be able to keep that money, right? Or you'll have clients who cancel, or clients who, badmouth you, whatever the case may be, because you're feeling the sense of guilt and shame around who you are, right? So when I say revel in, what I mean is embrace that part of your personality, embrace that part of yourself, instead of beating up on that part of yourself, instead of, vilifying that part of yourself, instead of making that side of yourself wrong, right? Because I'm telling you, the bitch in you knows how to get what she wants. And she knows how to run a business with ease. And she knows how to call in the right clients for her. And she knows how to close those higher end sales. And she knows how to receive more cash in her bank account. She knows it. She knows how to require support from her team, right? So you have to be willing to be perceived as the bitch in your own mind and in other people's mind in order for you to get what you want, in order for you to get to your next level. Because if you're afraid of that, you will continue to spin your wheels. You will continue to bump your head up against 5, 10, 20K months and stay stuck there and work harder and harder and harder and harder and implement strategy after strategy after strategy and not understand why your situation, your circumstances are not changing, right? It will change when you allow yourself to see yourself for who you are without judging yourself, without beating up on yourself, without making yourself wrong, right? So I want you guys, somebody said amen, I think. I want you guys to think back to a time when you felt like a bitch, but you didn't feel that it was wrong to be that bitch. You just really felt empowered. And I want you to think about the word bitch the way I'm using it, not with a negative connotation. I want you to think about that word from an empowered place. There's an author, what's her name? Sherry Argrove, I think. She wrote a book called Why Men Love Bitches. I love that book, by the way. But she talks about bitch and she uses it to mean babe in total control of herself. That's what I mean when I say allow that bitch part of you to come out. I'm not talking about being someone who's rude or dismissive or disrespectful to other people. As I said before, a bitch is not being the bitch in my world is not about being an asshole. It's about allowing yourself to be in total control of your thoughts, of your feelings, of your responses to things and circumstances and people, right? So that's coming from an empowered place, and that's where you want to come from. So I want you to think about a time in your life, because I know you all have one, where you felt like that, where you felt like you were in total control, where you did what you wanted to do, where you said what you wanted to say, and you didn't worry about the consequences. You were not a slave to other people's feelings or opinions about you, right? Because that's what you want to foster in your day-to-day in order to get to your next level, all right? Because that part of you is the part of you that knows how to close sales with ease. That's the part of you that knows how to do marketing that compels people to want to get on the phone with you. That's the part of you that you need to bring out. That's the part of you that's going to allow you to receive the support that you need in order to get to your next level with a sense of ease and grace instead of hustle, instead of struggle, instead of strife and all that shit that you've been tolerating. And it's also the part of you that will not allow you to tolerate what you've been tolerating, right? It's that part of you that sees the difference between what your standards are and what you've been putting up with, and it says, oh no, honey, right? It's also that part of you that will call in more support, right? Whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whether it's, a new social circle of women who get you, who see your high standards, right? And they hold you accountable to them. That's the part of you that you want to bring forth. I remember, I have so many examples of that when I was in my 20s. I remember I used to work a job and I fucking hated this job. And one day I decided, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. With me, cover me for a few moments. I'll be right back. And I went upstairs to the human resources department, and they were closed for the weekend. And I hope you guys can still hear me because my computer's making all kinds of noises. Anyway, they were closed for the weekend. And I just went upstairs and I wrote a note and I said, please accept this letter as my resignation effective today. I'm giving you 2 weeks notice essentially. And then I went right back to the front desk and acted like everything was fine. And I quit. And that was it. And I didn't worry about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do and I had my own apartment. I was in school. Like I had all of these responsibilities, but I didn't worry, right? You want to get yourself back to that place of not worrying. And I didn't worry because I trusted myself enough. I knew that I was always going to make my decisions right? And it didn't matter to me that my coworkers might have thought I was a bitch or, that my employers might have thought, like, it didn't matter what anybody thought of me, right? What mattered was what I thought of me. What mattered was how I was treating myself, right? And I wasn't willing to put up with the bullshit I was putting up with at that job any longer, right? So that's just one example. I want you guys to look back at your own examples in your own life, because what happens is as we get older, when we're younger, it's like, oh, I can do whatever I want, right? You feel that sense of internal freedom, right? You're not beholden to anyone, right, or anything. But as we get older, there's this scarcity that starts to creep in, right? We've experienced more setbacks, right? We've had more challenges in life, and so we stop feeling the same freedom that we allowed ourselves to feel when we were younger. And I think that's a really big mistake. I think that what you really want to do is continue to foster that feeling of freedom within you every day of your life, right? Because you still have that ability. The problem is that it's been so clouded by experiences that haven't always measured up to what you were expecting them to measure up to. And so with every time that happens, it takes this hit to your sense of confidence, to your sense of esteem, to your sense of worth. And you keep carrying that with you day to day, day to day, day to day, day to day, and wondering why your experience is not getting better. It's actually starting to regress. You're actually feeling like you're backsliding, right? So if you want to stop that feeling, then you need to conjure the feeling of security within yourself. You need to conjure the idea, I guess it's the idea of fully embracing who you are and knowing that no matter what happens, you can make that decision right? So meaning no matter what people think of you, you'll still make the money that you want to make and then some, right? No matter what people think of you, you'll still sign the ideal clients that you want to sign, right? So this is how you really give yourself power. This is how you really give yourself authority. This is how you really give yourself freedom, right? It doesn't come externally, right? It doesn't come from being a people pleaser so that other people like you, right? And then because you think they like you, you're going to get what you want. No. If they like you, but you don't like you, even if you do get what you want on a surface or a superficial level, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be satisfied, and you will sabotage that experience, right? So you want your source of power. You want your sense of self and worth to be coming from inside of you. So that means honoring all of you, all parts of you, right? Not just the parts that are socially acceptable, but every fucking part of you, right? Even the part that seems like it's the darker side, even the part that seems like it's the prickly side, even the part that scares you that if you let it out, you will be isolated, you will be alone, you will be abandoned. Because that is the real you, my friend, right? That's the real you. And the more you let that out, the more you will actually attract to you people who honor that, people who respect that, people who are looking for that part of you. in order for them to feel like you were real to them, that they could connect with you, that they wanted to work with you, right? So I hope you guys are getting a lot of value out of everything I shared. And so I want to do a special, I think I'm embarrassing myself. Wait, hold on. Tiptoeing around other people, absolutely. So Janelle said, truth, I was more courageous in my 20s. Yes, so you don't have to go back to your 20s, but you get to go back to those times and bring them into your present, right? Remember the woman that you were, because that's the woman who's going to take you to where you desire to be, right? If you guys are stuck at whatever income level you want and you're wanting to get to the next level, you have to find that courage, right? And you've got to be willing to embrace all of who you are. So, okay, awesome. No, when I say I'm embarrassing myself, what I mean, who's very lack mentality, Stephanie? I don't know what you're referring to. What I mean is that I want to sing a song to you guys. I want you guys to sing with me, and I'm embarrassed to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so some of you guys may know, I don't remember when the song came out. I think it came out in the 90s, but it's called I'm a Bitch. And for any of you who are resistant to that word, for any of you who feel, afraid of being perceived as a bitch. I mean, I've been called a bitch by so many people, I can't even keep count anymore. And I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, that's your opinion, and I don't internalize it anymore. And that's where you want to be. Because again, if you want to be able to show up powerfully for your clients, if you want to be able to show up powerfully in your sales conversations, if you want to be able to collect more cash, then you cannot be a slave or worried about people's opinions of you, right? So embrace the fact that that people may call you a bitch, and that's just what it is, right? No big deal. So now I want you guys, seriously, I'm so embarrassed, and I'm kind of like, I'm nervous, and I can sing a little, but I'm still nervous about this, but I'm going to do it anyway, and I want you guys to sing with me. There's a song that came out, I think it came out in the 90s. It's called I'm a Bitch. I'm going to play it right now, and I don't know if you guys can hear the music because I'm wearing my headphones, but we'll try. We'll see how it goes. And don't laugh too hard at me, okay? Because I'm going to sing it with you. All right, ready? Woo! Let me turn the volume down. I'm an angel underneath, innocent and sweet. Yesterday I cried, must have been relieved to see the softer side. I can understand how you'd be so confused. I don't envy you. I'm a little bit of everything, all rolled into one. I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint. I do not feel ashamed. I'm your hell, I'm your dream. I'm nothing in between. You know you wouldn't want it any other way. So take me as I am. All right, so do you guys know that song? Thank you. Do you guys know that song? That's a song, if you don't know it, it's by Meredith Brooks. It's called I'm a Bitch. Make that song your religion this week so you can really stop holding back. You can really stand in your power and allow yourself to be who you are. Allow yourself to have the standards that will get you to your next level, because that where you are right now, it's only going to take you a few tweaks to get to your next level, right? If you're banging your head between 5 or 20K months, you're making money, right? You know how to sell, you know how to market, you know how to attract clients. We just need a couple of tweaks to call in the right clients and to call in more cash consistently, right? And one of the biggest tweaks you're going to make is fully embracing yourself as you are, right? Not being attached to other people's opinions of you. You give yourself that emotional and that mental freedom. That is when the cash will like overwhelm you. It will come in so quickly with so much ease that it will amaze you. Okay, so I hope you guys got value out of today's live stream. And I actually feel good about what I did today. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you want some, support about growing your own business, check me out at DesireeStafford.com/session. We can have a conversation. And then I have to run because I have a session right now. So I hope you guys got value. If you have, like, comment, share this video, all that kind of good stuff. One last question I'll answer before I go. Katie says, what about if you're not making money? Well, if you're not making money and you don't know why you're not making money, it sounds to me like you need some support, right? So I would look into that. I would look into getting some support. Sometimes you have to invest before you start making money, or you can continue to try to, figure it out on your own and see if you're going to get results that way. But my guess is you've been doing that for at least some amount of time. You're not seeing the results, so it's time to do something different, right? So that you actually get a different result. All right, guys, thanks for being here. Take care. Bye.